Hey guys, happy holidays. In this video, we are answering a question that someone submitted about Quakers and Conures, and they asked two parts. Part number one, will they bond with one person and still bond with other humans? And number two, is it better to get them when they're babies and still hand feeding or after they've passed their hormonal stage? I'm Kaylin, the author of The Parrot Bliss Bond. I have a couple other books. If you're looking for a wonderful book for a parrot lover, I've got several for you. So check out my books. I'll put some pictures at the end. And in the meantime, I have over 22 species of parrots. My parrots are my bliss. I love them. Now, let's answer the question. So, to start, yes, conures can become one-person birds. I have certainly heard of green-cheek conures doing this. We have one that did this, one or maybe two, but mostly one. I have not heard of Quaker parrots doing this. Blue, for example, is madly in love with pretty much any female that gives him attention. So blue is really easy. If someone new comes into the house, he's not just going to go and attack them. Not that green cheek conures, like I've never really seen that. I've seen Amazons do that, but not so much the conures. So, or the Quakers. So question number one, yes, they can get attached to people, the conures, and they can become one-person birds. I don't feel like they're too likely to attack other people. I know that they can, especially when you only have one bird and there's like two people in the house. Then one of the problems is the green-cheek conure feels like it has to compete for its mate, its best friend, if you will. So, of course, the easy solution to that is to have two of a species, because when you have two green-cheek conures or two Quakers, then what happens is they keep each other company when they're in their cage, and when you get to spend time with them, you can kind of do one per person, and they tend to do that because then they'll go to the other person because they'll be able to get all the attention from that person. So it's a nice way to make sure that each human has a companion kind of thing, but each parrot too, and that way the conures or the Quakers are more likely to stay friendly with everyone. So I strongly recommend too. It helps them keep that mindset of being social, which they are. So if they lose that social mindset that's natural to them, they get out of balance, and that's when we could see things like more aggressive behaviors. And then people think it's hormones, but it's not necessarily. It could be. So I kind of feel like hormones get like blamed for a lot of behaviors that people don't like, and I'm not sure that it's always true. Hormones is certainly true when they have any kind of box, when they're in heat and they're trying to defend their space where either their future eggs are going to be, their eggs are, or their babies are, kind of thing. Now, what's a good age to get that baby Quaker or that baby conure? When you're hand feeding or after the hormonal stage? Well, there's really big problems with both of these stages. The problem with the hand feeding stage is that if you don't know how to hand feed, it's really difficult. It can be easy to either not give them enough food or aspirate them, which means that they choke on it because it gets into their lungs. So if you, like in that baby stage where they're hand feeding, one of the things is you need to know how much to feed them and you need to know how often to feed them. And these change with the baby's age every week. So it's kind of not, it's not that hard or that complicated, but it's not like you could just pick up and just do it. You really should be trained. So I would think twice about doing that, because that might not, that's something that you could do with experience, but I don't know if it's a good idea to get a baby and finish hand feeding it because you think you can if you don't have experience. It may not be worth the heartache because it can be difficult. It might make you frustrated, and frankly, the baby might either be frustrated or too hungry or get injured. So I really don't recommend that. If you wait until they're weaned, at that point, it's just so much easier, because then you just don't have to monitor whether or not they're eating, whether or not they've learned to eat for themselves. A lot of that's been done for you, and it allows you and your parrot to kind of like start at a place where you guys can just focus on bonding and creating a connection. I think that that's a really important focus, And if you really dedicate yourself to that, you're going to be super successful once they're weaned. So that's why I would recommend just letting them be weaned. Now, sometimes breeders have them to the point to where they're only eating once a day and they're eating on some food on their own. If you're comfortable with that and you're comfortable feeding with a spoon, like at that point, the baby might be eating so well on their own that they're like almost done, they're almost weaned. That might not be so bad, but I just don't recommend a really young baby whose feathers, for example, are just coming out, and they have to learn how you feed and you have to learn how to feed them. In other words, it's an adjustment for both parties, and it's just not easy. Don't recommend it. Okay, I hope I've explained that so that you kind of see it from different angles, so that if you're like, well, but what about this? Or, you know, that hopefully that explains that really, unless you know what you're doing, I would wait and really focus on that bonding. The second thing, what about waiting until they aren't hormonal? Well, there's one problem with that. Generally speaking, like humans, parrots can be a baby, and then they can be kind of like a young toddler, that kind of thing, and then they can reach sexual maturity and go into adulthood. Now, of course, before they reach sexual maturity, and at some point, if they get old, just like humans who start to not really be able to reproduce sexually anymore, parrots will have that window as well. So let's just call it an adult sexually capable of reproducing window, from the onset of adulthood and the ability to sexually reproduce until it kind of shuts down in them. That's a window of most of their life. During this window, they will be hormonal every year. Now, when they're young teenagers who are sexually mature and sexually able to recreate, they're going to be the most hormonal, just like humans. When they get a little older, they're still going to be hormonal, and if they have a nest box or something that they're using, if they lay eggs, they will get hormonal, but you'll find that the levels aren't as high. Think of a teenager with hormones that are driving him or her crazy versus in 5 or 10 years or 20 years as an adult where you're just quite not so driven by your hormones. Are they still there? Sure, but they're just not like super high. So you can't really get a Quaker or a Conure after the hormonal period. Maybe someone's asking about like after that initial teenage period kind of thing. They will bond, but it's not going to be the same bond. Really, the ideal time is once they're weaned, so that you can really focus on bonding with them. You can really focus, you don't have to worry about them eating. You know, you at first you watch and make sure that they're eating, that they adjust to your home, that kind of thing, to their new life. But that aside, it lets you really focus on maybe training, maybe playing, maybe what toys they like, maybe how you guys get along, maybe trying to teach them to talk. There are so many things and so many ways to engage. And these are two species that are really friendly. And when I talk about Conures, I can generalize. Conures in general are pretty friendly. They're pretty much going to bond. Quakers too. And now it gets harder to generalize, but I'm going to say that a little bit generally speaking, you will find that when you do get a Quaker at that age where they're weaned and you really bond with them, they are super affectionate. Can you tell? This guy he keeps trying to preen me. He keeps trying to get my attention. This is not hormonal. This is not biting. He's trying to preen me. He's like, I love you, I love you, I love you. Yes, I love you too. So if I give him a little attention, he'll click at me. And look at that. He's just letting me pet him and love on him. Hi, sweetheart. Yeah, you're such a love. You're such a love. And he wasn't fed when he was a baby kind of thing. So really, I think that's going to be the easiest way for you and for you to create the best bond you can with your parrot, which is a part of my mission, helping you create that. All right, guys, stay tuned. I'm going to show you my books because Feathered Splendor would be an awesome one for Christmas. It's full color book. It's a nice size. It's got like 40 pictures of different species, not different parrots, different species. Within that, there's different parrots. And it's got information on over 10 species, 12 species. I have several books, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching and happy holidays. Please be sure to give us one of these and comment below. It helps our juice.